Do you want to be cool like me? Or perhaps cool like my dog? Or do you just have a hard time getting in and out of your car ever since you put that fixed back seat in it? Why is it so difficult? Well, today we might have the solution for you. We're going to be installing an aftermarket steering wheel. Bernie's not here, but my name's Kane. Let's get to work. Before we get started on the steering wheel, let's consult the instructions. Oh, how convenient. So welcome to Bernie Rubber's garage. Today we're looking at installing an aftermarket steering wheel, but let's consider why we want to install an aftermarket steering wheel. So if you remember last episode, we installed an OMP WRC fixed seat. It's in a fixed position, and as you saw from the intro, it's very difficult to get in and out. Maybe I dramatize that, but we're going to be changing out the OEM steering wheel with a MOMO Tuner steering wheel. Now, the story for the steering wheel is I picked it up in Japan at Up Garage. My wife and I went to Japan. I wanted to check out that internationally recognized store and pick up a souvenir. So I've had this steering wheel in the garage for a couple of years now, and conveniently it's going to work in today's episode. Alright, so if we able to take some measurements, this steering wheel is right around 13 and a half inches. Let's see what the OEM one is. So we're here in the cabin with the OEM steering wheel, right around 15 inches. So once we're all done with the install, we'll have more leg room, and once we finish our session at the track, we'll be able to disconnect our steering wheel, set it aside, which is going to help with the egress. And accompanying the steering wheel, we've got two different components. Both of these are from NRG. I'll leave the part numbers in the description just in case you want to use this setup. We've got a hub adapter. This is specific to the vehicle, so every car will be slightly different. Then we have a quick release. Now this quick release adapter is SFI approved. There's the spec number. In my opinion, better to have something that is approved, that has gone through the quality testing, rather than something that has not, and that's purely from a safety standpoint. How this quick release adapter works, you can see we've got a D shape on both sides and some pins which hold in. Those pins catch on the lip there, and that's how the steering wheel stays in place. First thing first, the removal of the steering wheel. Now we have an airbag which we need to take care of. We've got to be very careful about removing these. So first thing is we've got to disconnect the battery so we don't get any accidental discharge. Just a note about disconnecting the battery. Now before you do so, some OEM stereos have security codes attached to them, and whenever you disconnect the battery, sometimes they get locked out. This car never had a security code set up for the OEM stereo. So when we do plug everything back in, the trick is to insert a CD and eject it, and that essentially allows the radio to work. So before you go disconnecting the battery, just make sure you know if you have any security issues with your stereo. A little bit about airbag safety. When we remove this, you always want to keep the trim side facing away from you, just in case of any accidental deployment. You're going to store these airbags. Make sure you store it with this side facing up. That way if it accidentally discharges, it doesn't propel itself into space. Also, a good idea not to put anything on top of that if you are storing it somewhere. When we remove this airbag, there will be an electrical connector we need to unplug, and then it's going to come free. Okay, so for the horn, the ground has a spade connector type we can unplug. The white connector here we need to push in and turn counterclockwise, and we'll get that one out. Next up in the removal process, we need to straighten that old steering wheel, make a mark, make sure that it remains straight, and then we'll try pull it off, but we're probably going to have to use that steering wheel puller. $21mm for this job. Alright, we're going to try and pull this off first. Put the nut back on just so it doesn't fly in your face. Wiggle the steering wheel left to right and give it a good tug. Oh, we got it. Awesome. There's the steering wheel. Alright, next up we're going to need to remove the center section. How we do that, we're going to start by removing the knee bolster first and then the steering wheel cover. Phillips screwdriver. Nope, it's not a Phillips. Maybe the T15? And bingo was his name-o. Torx 15 to remove the knee bolster. Okay, and this looks a little different since last time, so let's just catch up. Center console, the boot trigger as well as the knee bolster have been removed. The center support has been removed. There's 4 7mm bolts, 2 on each side. We'll remove that. Then we can get the clock spring out. Okay, so this connector is located over here. Unplug that, thread it through, and you'll remove the clock spring. Now the issue is with this clock spring is its interference, so there's no way to put the hub on while this is in place, and that's okay. We're getting rid of the airbag anyway. However, I want to try and trick the car into thinking that the airbag is still in place. We're going to do that with a resistor, and this is the little guy I have here. We've got 2 prongs on this end, which normally is going to plug into this side of the connector. However, we're removing the clock spring, so it's got a little resistor as well as a fuse, just in case something abnormal happens. So what I'm going to do is pull these wires back and do a little bit of a chop and actually solder the wires in and connect them like that. Then I'm going to plug this connector back into the car and hopefully that will take care of it. Now this is going to be located under the dash, so I want to make sure it's a nice solid connection. Alright, let's try it out. Okay, let's plug this in and wrap everything up. Alright, the next issue we ran into is clearance issue. So the hub adapter doesn't quite fit into the opening of the steering wheel trim. It's pretty close, but not quite. So what we're going to do is just take the Dremel and just cut the bottom first. Hopefully that's all we need, but we'll see. Alright, plenty of clearance. Alright, now that's taken care of. Let's torque the nut. 30 foot-pounds for this vehicle. You'll notice I've left the horn ground on here. I'm just going to store it in here for now. Maybe when we pull this off one day, we'll connect it. Alright, now we're finally up to the quick release part of the steering wheel. It's just going to bolt to the hub, top, and we'll use the supplied hardware for this. Click, click. Click, click. Okay, so finally, the final piece, the steering wheel. The top part of the quick release, remember top goes to top. If you have a look on the back, it's the flat portion that's going to go to the top, and the steering wheel. Now the horn and the trim piece isn't going to fit on this. That's okay, we don't have a horn right now anyway, and we'll fix that later on. That's all there is to it. There we go, all done. And that's really nice. Plenty of leg room, knee room, especially when you're heel toe shifting. I like it. Do need to solve the horn issue, but we'll get to that later. Just like that. Good morning, guys. Well, today's a new day. In fact, it's the day after track day. Had a great time, but we got a package in while we're out at the track, and that is our horn kit. So just to show you what I've been doing in the meantime, got this funny looking system here. So we have our horn switch, which is this yellow wire, and just a momentary push switch. So this for the horn has been working just fine, but we've got a horn kit. So let's take a look. I ordered these two kits from Sparco. You can see we're going to use this one here. It's a single push button. This kit has two. I ordered it just in case we want to take a look at adding a button later on. This right here is the horn wire which I use to connect it. And here's some footage just showing you how we connected that. So we removed the hub, inserted the spring by turning it clockwise into the horn area here. Now I did have to remove a couple of coils from the spring. At first there was too much resistance, so a couple of coils came off and we got it where it's sitting nicely. Okay, so when comparing lengths, these Sparco wires are plenty long enough, so I've removed the ground wire from the hub, and we're going to cut the signal wire and put on a spade connector to connect the two together. We'll use a little bit of heat shrink just to protect this connection. We don't want this grounding out because that's going to signal the horn. First we'll test it. Oh wow, that's louder than Mariah Carey turned up to 11. Alright, let's continue. All done. Alright, so now when driving, if we need to use the horn, we've got the nice red button there. Looks much tidier than my DIY solution. And that will complete the steering wheel install. Let us know what you would like to see next. And comment down below if you like this little horn solution. Even any suggestions for what that other button could be, that other kit I got. For now we're just going to leave it single, but there's always an option there, so I really do like this Sparco kit. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time on Bernie Rubber's Garage.